let's explore the evolution of successful coping strategies, of successful living strategies. Now, imagine for a moment, because we're going to start off on the continuum of competence. We're going to start off with low competence. We're going to start off with low competence, and we're going to move to high competence. So low competence. Now, at a low competence level, and just to back up for a moment, everyone wants to feel good. And in order to feel good, we must fulfill our basic human needs. Start off with survival. We need oxygen to feel good. We need food to feel good. We need heat to feel good. We need light to feel good. We need shelter to feel good, right? So we start off with survival. It's the first of our human needs. We move on to security of survival. Now, it takes a certain amount of skill to survive. If you go to Alaska and visit the Inuit tribes, how do they survive at 30 degrees below zero, surrounded by ice, on a frozen ice pack? That takes a certain amount of competence, meaning they learn to build igloos, they learn to work with dogs, they learn to fish. They have to learn when and how to urinate in 30 degrees below zero, because the wind chill factor could freeze the urine before it hits the ground. How do you navigate that environment? It takes a skill, a certain level of competence to survive in any environment. And just because you're still alive doesn't mean you've reached the next level of competence, which is security of survival. And that doesn't mean you have any love or belonging. You could be in a city, you could be in a forest, you could be in any cult or culture on the planet and not have a sense of being home, of belonging. So just because we have survival and security of survival does not mean that we feel as if we belong. And just because our politically correct persona feels it belongs, doesn't mean that our non-politically correct, that our taboo personas can feel that they belong. Just because our sweet-tempered, courteous persona has a sense of belonging, it doesn't mean that the part of us that loses their temper or hates some particular people, it doesn't mean that that part of us belongs. And just because we have some sense of belonging doesn't necessarily mean we have love for ourselves or other people or are loved by other people. And just because we're loved doesn't mean that all of us is loved or that the love is particularly refined. Could just be, live and let live. That could be a low level of love. But what about exaltation, joy in the present? It doesn't mean that we've got that. So each of our human needs requires more and more competency from both ourselves and other people. Because if we know how to take care of ourselves, but other people don't know how to operate a gun lock, and the gun goes off, and they don't know how to handle that, and we die because somebody else doesn't know how to handle a gun, it requires skill of other people. We may be driving safely in our own lane, but if most of the drivers around us don't have a clue what they're doing, we may not be secure in our survival because those around us lack competence. So it requires competence on our own part and other people's part to meet our needs sustainably. So imagine that you're in a very low competent environment. Well, in a very low competent environment, everyone dies. If you put 1,000 human beings in Inuit Alaska with 4 feet of snow and 30 degrees below zero, you leave them there for a month without any training, they're all dead. Now, a little bit higher on the competency training, let's say that the 1,000 people, they all got a little crash course in survival, but they don't really have any confidence. They've never done it before. But they learned how the Inuit did it. And some of them, are on dialysis and some of them are old and stuff. So they die off. But maybe 20% of the 1,000 figure out, 200 of them figure out and pretty much stay alive. They figure out how to do this and how to do that and how to do this other thing. They learn on their feet pretty quickly, and so they survive. Now, at low levels of competence, you have scarcity. There's a tremendous amount of energy that is all around us on all dimensions. I mean, this is a tremendously abundant planet in a tremendously abundant reality. One atom has enough energy to power a city. We just need the competency to extract that energy and transform it into a useful form to do what? To fulfill our human needs, to fill fully our needs. But at low levels of competency, we don't have that. We have a scarcity. So, imagine being a child in a war-torn country who wants a carrot. But there are no carrots to be found. I want a carrot. Nobody has the competence to produce one. We didn't plant any. We were on the move. They were stolen by burglars. There's not enough to go around. I want a carrot. There's no carrot. Well, how do you survive wanting a carrot when there's no carrots to be found? Well, an infant might whine, right? And then, I want a carrot, I want a carrot, I want a carrot. Now, what do you teach your children in a low competence environment where there are no carrots? Stoicism is a practical method of tolerating discomfort in a chronically scarce and chronically incompetent environment, where one's needs are not going to be met. That's a given. There's 1,000 people, there's food for 150. It doesn't do any good to whine. It doesn't do any good to communicate clearly. I would like my carrots sliced. I'd like it at 6 p.m. I'd like it refreshed and crispy. All of that clarity is like, no. You don't get it. We don't have the competency to produce carrots. So all that, imagination, all that articulation, it doesn't do anyone any good. In fact, they may give you a slap because you're making other people imagine that delicious carrot. And they can't get one either. And pain is generated when you clearly want something and imagine it, but can't get it. That's called pain. So if you communicate, I want a carrot, and I want it like this, you are producing pain. You're producing the desire. Perhaps as a meme, you're producing the desire in yourself and others, but you're not producing the means by which to get a carrot. I want a carrot, but I don't want it enough to produce the means to create it. And so Stoicism, shut up. I don't want to hear it. Real men hold their feelings inside. Of course you want a carrot. You moron. Everyone wants a carrot. It's wartime. We're hungry. We're all hungry. Of course people want carrots. That's not anything original. But real men, mature men, don't talk about it, first of all. That reduces stress for other people because empathy says, I want to give you a carrot. You want a carrot? I want to give you a carrot. I can't give a carrot now. I feel worse. Now I'm angry at you because you made me feel worse. Now why am I angry at you? Because we're in a low competency environment. I want to feel good. I don't know how to feel good, and you made me feel worse. So now I resent you. I resent you. You made me feel worse. So Stoicism is a step up. You notice. It's slightly Buddhist in nature. You notice. I want a carrot. You notice the feeling. You sit with it. Carrots are desired. You don't express the desire of the carrot. You put on a cheerful face. Why? Because that makes other people who are in similar scarcity and consequent incompetence. Because let's face it, there is a competency capable of producing a carrot. It could be the competence of air flight from another country, but and if you haven't developed telepathy or a cell phone or something, you don't have the ability to call in an order for carrots to be dropped, by plane to your exact location. Your GPS hasn't been invented. Why? It's a low competence environment. So in low competent environments, stoicism, silence, repressing feelings. Why do you repress feelings? Because they're miserable. In a scarce environment of low competence, the feelings are all bad. I want this and I don't have it. I want that and I don't have that either. I want the pain to stop and it's not stopping. Why? Because we're incompetent. If we were competent, we would produce all those desires, and then it becomes ridiculous to hide them. So this is a very important thing to understand. Stoicism is a strategic response, down here at a low level of competence that improves well-being in a number of ways. First of all, I want a carrot doesn't produce a carrot, right? But you may have to start with a big distance. You may be starting a new farm, for example. Well, you're hungry. But food isn't going to grow just because you're hungry. So you have to, when you're hungry and you don't want to work, you have to put those feelings aside. You have to cut the trees down. You have to dig the stumps out. You have to plant food. You have to wait, suppressing your desires for 6 months, and then you can eat food. But then the weather turned and you lost half the crop. You can't just rage at God and say, you fucking moron, why didn't you do this? I thought we were the chosen people. Da, da, da. Why? Because that doesn't produce crops, right? Getting back to work, learning better irrigation techniques, figuring out that produces crops. And so in low competence scarcity environments, shutting up, getting to work, not complaining, not talking about desires, not asking for anything, being satisfied with the status quo, and working long, hard hours with a high pain tolerance is the number one goal. So you've got it made if you are a Stoic in that environment. Now, in higher competency environments where there is supplies, they're just not enough for everyone. There is a carrot. It's just there's one carrot and there's 5 people that want a carrot. See, now we're in less scarcity, which means we've got higher competency. It's just not enough to go around. So now we get into new winning strategies for survival. Charm, for example. If I can charm and ingratiate myself to the carrot holder, the carrot disperser, flash, little cleavage, complement the hair of the carrot distributor. But if I can get, so now you've got a competition going on. So your Stoicism is just isn't any, and so you grim endure it and you work hard and all that. But as you start to get a little bit of supply, so there is enough, just not enough to go around. Because the group is the round, is the circle. One person, two person, three person, and then we've run out of rice. One person, two person, three person, now we've run out of sexy partners. One person, two person, three person, four person, and now we've run out of good listeners. You're out of luck. There are some good listeners. There's just 100 of you, and there's only 4 good listeners, which means that 96% of you are not going to feel heard. I want a good listener. I want a good listener, right? So you've got a competition. Now, in a competition, you're competing in a prostitutory environment, meaning when you've got scarcity, you've got to figure out how to register and compete for the scarce resources. Bribery, lies, secrecy, sexual prostitution, flirtation, praise. I'll butter I'll take care of scratch your back if you scratch mine. These are all successful techniques in a highly scarce environment. If you want to be abundant in a highly scarce environment, you can't have more than your fair share in a hungry crowd and have everyone know about it. They'll kill you. They'll steal your food. So you have secret environments, closed-door meetings to decide who is going to get a good share of the crop, whether it's financial or sexual or physical. Who's going to get a good share and who's going to go hungry? And in a low competent scarcity environment, there's high pain and high trauma, which means there's high reptilian activity, which means that it's a fear-based system. So the more pain is present in the environment, the more ice is put on the empathic human brain, and the more blood flows into the reptilian or sociopathic brain. The reptilian and sociopathic brain is a fear-based brain. So who gets the big cut? Who gets the biggest cut of the meat? The alpha. Why? Because the alpha can cause the most pain. If you weigh 100 pounds and are 5'4" and are 78 years old, and the alpha weighs 200 pounds, is 6 foot tall, muscular, and 34, and you're in a scarce environment where the reptilian brain is running the show, it's not a good strategy to take the alpha's meat. Why? Because you're in a fear-based system. You're in a reptilian system. The alpha reptile looks out at the beta reptile and says they don't have a right to take this cut. What does that mean in the reptilian brain? What it means is you don't have the brawn to win in a fight. I could knock you down with one punch. Now, we're in sociopathic terrain. We're in reptilian territory. I could knock you down with one punch. And I'm not an empath. I'm a reptile because we're in scarcity and pain. So I give you the look. Do you want the punch or do you want to give me back my meat? If they're dumb or too hungry, I give them a punch, kill them, take the meat. Now there's more to go round. One more dead. Or, more likely, the reptilian brain in the beta, child, female, smaller male, doesn't matter, the beta, says, oh, please, take the meat. But if we give you the best meat and the best mate and give you a good back massage, will you punch our enemy for us so that we can get more food for the circle? So an alpha is supported as the best chance of surviving in a scarce environment. So currying favor, ass licking. Oh, it's my pleasure. It's my pleasure. There's nothing I'd rather do on a Saturday than sit and listen to your 3-hour sob story so that I can get this fucking real estate deal closed so that I can pay the rent. You're the alpha because you've got the money that I need. You're the alpha because you've got the muscle needed to defend the tribe. You're the alpha because you could punch me if you wanted to. And you will, because your reptilian brain is running the show, because in a trauma-based environment produced by scarcity, the reptilian brain is always running the show. That's what it's there for. Crocodiles are not there to be nice. They're there to attack what is smaller than them, feed on them, and live another day. That's a crocodile. That's a reptile. That's the reptilian brain. Any highly traumatic environment sends blood to the reptilian brain and ices, numbs out, dissociates from the human and empathic brain. So you're looking at prostitution, lies, backroom deals, etc. in this domain because that's what it takes to survive. Now, who doesn't make it in this stage of development? The elderly, the sick, the weak, the people without allies. If you're small and not indispensable and you have no alpha ally, you're the one who gets starved out. You're the one who gets left behind. You're the one who gets the least rations. You're the one who gets the worst mate. That's how it works. Because in a fear-based system, that category of people have nothing to offer someone in fear. And the sick, the elderly, the infirm, the mentally disturbed, they can't fight back. Nobody will stand up for a disenfranchised, vulnerable minority in a scarce environment. The race that is a minority when there isn't enough food is the one that gets abused. A certain religion that doesn't have any backing. Because if you say, I belong to the religion of the alpha, then there's a certain amount of identification. That's me. I'm protecting my own. But if you believe something that nobody else believes, if you don't have a talent that the tribe needs, if you're getting old, if you don't have the ability to take that cut and defend and beat the alpha, you die. Socially, financially, mentally, emotionally, sexually, you die if there isn't enough to go around. And so this is the state of development. So build alliances, curry favor, prostitution of all kinds. I don't want to do this work. This isn't my talent and gift, but I want you to like me because there isn't enough to go around, and you've got more because you're an alpha. You're cool. You're rich. You're popular. You're from a powerful family. You've got personal security. You've got a car. You've got a gun. I want your energy at my back in a scarce environment. So this is the second level then, is who can be the most effective prostitute to the alpha. Doesn't matter male, female, what the environment is. If it's a capitalist sociopathic framework where it's all about killing the competition, Microsoft played this role in the software industry. It was known as the 800-pound gorilla, because all they had to do was send 30 lawyers to start harassing some poor business that had a better piece of software, and they'd sell or fold on unfavorable terms or get tied up for 5 years with $10 million of legal fees. In an empathic environment or a democratic environment, that's called abuse of power. In a reptilian environment, that's called a kill. You make allies with the powerful at that stage of development. You don't make ally, you stick up for the right thing. You decide that you're going to side with the nerd in high school. You're going to stand up to the bully. People abandon you because you're in a reptilian environment with a reptilian brain protocol based on fear. And you've just stepped out of the protection of the majority to do what's right for a minority that has no backers. But you don't have a gun. You don't have the ability to get the principal fired if they don't back you up. You've committed what's known in high school as social suicide. Now, it might be nice, of course, if our high schools were not run by the reptilian brain. But in order to achieve that, we would actually have to create competency in our schools at a level that exceeds the competency that is currently there. We don't have the competency as parents, teachers, principals, or government to transcend the reptilian state. That is the undercurrent and often the real algorithm in our schools. So we have shootings, suicides, torment, depression, despair, low self-esteem, and literal hell in a majority of our students a good chunk of the time, because we don't have the competency to do something better. Now, as you move into abundance, now let's say you've played prostitute for an alpha. And so you've got your bucket of gold. You've got your spoils of war. You did the dirty work for an alpha for 1 year, 2 years, 5 years, 10 years. You made them a lot of money. You survived. You got security. You learned some skills. See, now at some point, you do not need the alpha. Now you move into an independent phase. So we're moving into autonomy, competent autonomy. This is when truth beauty, honesty, personality start to emerge. Because the prostitute is an adaptive, survival-based personality. How can I help you? How's your day, sir? Would you like paper or plastic? How was your experience at Wells Fargo? See, the pimped out persona of people who don't want to be there, who hate their bosses, who resent their dependency on the client or the customer, but who cannot pay their bills without putting on a good act, that disappears when you've got fuck you money, when you've got fuck you status. I've never liked you. You have horrible breath. You always show up drunk at my checkout aisle. Get the fuck out of my space. I couldn't have said that for 10 years because I would have gotten fired. But I don't need the money anymore. And I don't want to spend time with you. So get out of here. So once you reach what's called the independent status, the prostitute persona, doesn't matter if you're a sex worker or a desk worker or a trench worker or a miner. It doesn't matter. Once you reach autonomous state where I do not need you to tell my boss that I'm good so I don't get fired, and I don't need you, boss, to give me the job, and I don't need to do stuff I hate doing for money. I'm graduating from a prostitute into the potential of the healthy human being. Now, in the state of prostitution, the authentic self is the enemy of survival. It is the enemy of security of survival. What are you thinking today, Fred? I'm thinking what a shitty boss you are. Get out. You're fired. Okay. Honesty and integrity. Get out of here. I don't want to hear it. Don't come near me, authentic feelings. You are going to get me fired. You are going to make me look bad. You are going to cost me the raise. I'm not going to get the sex. Don't tell the truth. Get away from me. Authenticity, truth, data. We know what works in this situation. The boss expects me to apologize when they made a mistake. The boss made a mistake. They feel embarrassed. And the bonus goes to the one who apologizes and says they made the mistake. The boss looks down. The sociopathic, manipulative, intuitive says, "Oh, boss, don't feel bad. The world is out to get you. You're a wonderful boss." The boss looks up and feels better. "Yes, don't worry about that. The other employees may not understand you, but I do. I understand you." And the authentic truth of those employees look out at utter rage and hatred because you've pulled off a better act. You've lied more effectively. And now you're in the inner circle. Now you get the first pick of the newspaper story. Because you pampered the boss's ego. You gave them a blowjob. You did what you had to do in a prostitution environment of fear and scarcity and incompetence. They all go hand in hand. If there's no incompetence, there's no scarcity. If there's no scarcity, there's no fear. If there's no fear, there's no reptilian brain. there's no reptilian brain, there's authentic truth. You don't have to sacrifice. You know, if I don't hide this fact, then I'm thrown out of the garden, basically. If Dad knew that I was having sex with a black boy, he wouldn't pay my college degree, so my boyfriend is white, as far as Dad's concerned. Because Dad may be a fucked up racist, but he's also paying the bills. And so until I have my own money, I've got to pretend to be a fucked up racist so that Dad will sponsor my education. Until you reach independence from your role in a prostitutionary relationship with power, your truth and your authenticity are your greatest enemies, because they are always viewed with hostility in a scarce environment with power. Because in a scarce environment, based on fear and pain, fear of pain, that's what all fear is. It's fear of pain. In a scarce environment, based on fear, the power always is used by the alphas to benefit themselves more than it is used to benefit the most vulnerable minorities, which in a democracy is a betrayal of principle. Because all power is sought in a democracy based on a promise. You see, no politician wanders around saying, please, please vote for me. As soon as I get the power, I'm going to give jobs my family is incompetent to perform. But I'm going to give those to my family because they're paying well, and then I don't have to pay as much child support. I'll give a lucrative job to my ex-wife so I don't have to pay child support. And, you know, who gives a shit that she doesn't know what she is doing? Because she's spending your money, the public. And as soon as I get power, I'm going to give money to my cronies. I'm going to make side deals. I'm going to manipulate and bully for sex. I'm going to do this, this, this. And as soon as I get the money, that's what I'm going to do. Vote for me. No. In a sociopathic scarcity dynamic, all politicians are liars. Or they don't last, right? What do they say? I'm going to take care of you, and I'm going to take care of you, and I'm going to take care of you. And no, I would never give a job to my family. I would never take a bribe from a lobbyist who promises to save me time writing the bill, promises to give me a job after I get out of this shithole of a public performance, pretending to like all you people. You whine, you complain, you do that. Oh, so disgusting. You want me to solve all your problems? Go solve your own problems, you morons. No, you know, they're going to protect me, and they're going to give me a nice job at the end of this. And so, you know, there it is. So in that environment, politically, in a democracy, it's all based on lies. Here's the public story, and then here's the sociopathic story. I've got the power, and I'm going to do what I can get away with and still keep the power. Oh, and fine, I'm going to put on a little bit of a show, but, you know, this is where I'm at. So you have this dynamic, and then you get into autonomous abundance and independence. See, this is a huge flip in the development, the algorithm. So you've got Stoicism, you've got learning to run and hide, you know, reptilian fight, flight, freeze, fawn behavior. You've got learning to lie, learning to make deals and all that. All of this stuff is in reptilian territory. And your truth and the truth could get you killed. You saw the Catholic priest rape little Jenny. The Catholic priests have a lot of money. They can turn you into a witch and call you Satan. They can cast you out of the church. They can sue you with $1 billion worth of legal fees. They can settle. They can turn things against you. They can threaten you with going to hell. You're still going to report to the Sunday paper that Pastor James raped little Jenny? Or are you going to collude with power, let the priest know that you know, and take a bribe? Maybe the priest will talk wonderfully about your good Christian qualities. And you'll be offered a better job or get a little money on the side. You see, we're in reptilian territory. As you get the money that you don't need to put on an act, the independence that you don't need to put on an act, this is the first time when your feelings flip from being the enemy to your ally. Why? Well, up until this point, your authenticity could have got you killed. Assassinations, blackmail, intimidation. You don't get the job, any number of methods. But now you're independent. So you're no longer incentivized to destroy yourself, your truth, your beauty, your uniqueness, your perspective, in order to curry favor with somebody you need, a parent, a teacher, a lover. You know, when a guy lies in order to get in bed with a hot date, it's from scarcity. When he lies, he's saying, if I tell you the truth, you won't have sex with me. So I'm going to lie to you because I need and want the sex. And that'll be our little deal. You'll give me sex and I'll give you the lies you want. It's a deal. It's a reptilian deal. It's not love. It's a sociopathic exchange of energy. I want delusions. You want pussy. Here's the deal. Do I look lovelier today than I looked yesterday? Did you figure out the right thing to say? Oh, you're too dumb. Get out of here. I'm looking for someone to push very specific buttons and play along. It's not love. It's a power dynamic. So when you have freedom, when you have an abundance of partners to choose from, you don't have to lie. You say, this is who I am. I like this, I don't like this, but this is who I am. Let's not waste time. If that doesn't work for you, off you go. I've got 20 other people who can accept me. I don't need to lie. I don't want to lie. So now prostitution becomes the enemy of the new higher state of integrity, trustworthiness, grace, and love becomes a possibility. When you're in the prostitution relationship, you're still in fear. It is impossible for the reptilian brain to love, and it is the reptilian brain that is most afraid. So love is not possible until you reach autonomy, until you reach a level of freedom where you can fulfill your human needs without sucking up to someone. You know, language is such a useful term. Where does that term sucking up come from? Sucking what? Okay, let's get real. Sucking penises. So what does sucking up mean? It means I sucked your penis so that I could get to here. Then I sucked, from there I met so-and-so and I sucked their penis so that I could get to here. Then I sucked their penis so I could get to here, and I've climbed the social strata by mental, emotional, physical, financial prostitution. I gave so-and-so a bribe, so they referred me to his boss. Then I gave them a bribe to get what I wanted, and they referred me up. And now I'm the key supporter of this political organization, a staunch, trustworthy, the kind of salt of the earth member of this community that we need. I did a lot of sucking up the chain. So now I've addicted this, and this, and I could pull that away. I could remove my vagina from the picture. I could pull back the money. I could swing the vote. I could have a word with so-and-so who knows so-and-so who controls your political future. So sucking up to someone is necessary when they control the variables you want to get from here to here in a scarce environment. It's not authenticity that's useful. If he likes a red dress, it doesn't matter that you hate red. It doesn't matter that purple's your favorite color. Purple will get you fired. Get away, authentic self. Give me the manipulation. So at this interesting stage, because in a scarcity-based environment, many of us have spent 10, 20, 30 years sucking up to a cult, being nice to police officers so that they won't do this and this, not reporting this, not blurting out that we've always found that revolting. We haven't climbed, we've spent so many decades climbing the ladder that we pushed our true self, our authentic self, our unique self, so far under, because every time we looked at who we could be if we were not a prostitute, it filled us with sorrow. It filled us with guilt. It filled us with disgust and self-loathing. And rather than saying, I'm disgusting, rather than saying, this cult is disgusting, I hate being a prostitute, we told our authentic self to get lost. Get out of here, kid. Don't look at me, the parent that's putting on an act. The church says, be truthful, never lie to your mother. And you catch dad having an affair. Dad feels sick at his own hypocrisy. So he doesn't stop the affair. He shouts at his kid to get out and don't get anywhere near him. The authentic self, whether it's in the face of the child, the adolescent, or inside the inner child, the inner adolescent, the truth is crucified, is banished, is shamed, is ignored, and pushed out of the way. And that's a deep wound, because that's the most significant part of ourselves. That's our ideals. Our true self is what we find beautiful. we find true, what we know. That's the true self. To cut that part out in order to prostitute ourselves for a sociopathic cult that we don't believe in, that we don't respect ourselves, is a deep fucking wound. Now, many people never get out of prostitution. Maybe they admit a few truths after they retire. So retirement could allow them to talk about certain truths that they couldn't talk within the workplace. You see a lot of that, President Clinton locked up more African Americans than almost any president in recent history by sending people 3 strikes and you're out, few puffs of marijuana, more prevalent in the inner city. Just break up black families for decades for a few puffs of marijuana to get elected. Now, once he's out of office, then he's the first to say the drug wars are shit. I shouldn't have done those things. That's what I did to get elected. That's when I was pimping. That's when I was your hoe. But now that I'm not running for office, I can tell the truth, which is I should never have done that. They're a horrible thing for the country. I'd do them again if I needed to be elected, but since I'm not going to be elected again, I'll tell you the truth. So this is a really big transition. Now, how do you go from banishing your truth for decades to welcoming it back home? And then how do you deal with the grief? The grief of fighting, murdering your authenticity day after day after day to be something horrific for someone I despise in a system I hate. Well, now you start to understand why suicide is a bigger epidemic in the United States than car accidents. More people die committing suicides than are killed in cars. It's a lot of pain to murder the self. Committing suicide could be an act of rebellion. If I have to kill off everything meaningful about myself, I'd rather just have a little integrity and kill my body as well. I don't like the lie I'm living. And I don't know how to find myself again. I lost that self before I had language in a family system that hated innocence, truth, beauty, because of the ugliness it revealed in its shadow. So when you have a bright light, it casts light on the ugliness, on the secrets in the family. So often the truth teller, the innocent one, is turned into the black sheep and cast out, not because they're so bad, but because they're not hiding the truth. They may be embodying the family shadow. They're not hiding the truth. So you move then up to this state, and then you move up to, but you've still got limited abundance. You've got fuck you money, but nobody else has. Or, 10% people do, 90% don't. If you give all your money away to other people, you'll have nothing as well. So you're still in scarcity. You've got it, they don't. Now, the last step of competency in evolution is the exact opposite of the first. When you have more carrots than you know what to do with. When you have more chefs than anyone could possibly eat all the food. When you've got more free time than you know what to do with. When you can have anything you want, anytime you want it, with confidence based on competence. When you have superabundance, which is a state that we're moving towards in the next 100 years, when you have superabundance, then I'd like the carrot peeled. I'd like it crispy, becomes fun, becomes interesting. Oh, crispy like this, like here, have it. You've now got the authentic self back. You've got preference back. You've got joy back. And now delight, imagination, pickiness, femininity is in style. Is not only in style, it's the only thing to live for, but it's on the high end of the continuum of competency. Hi, I'm Dane Rose. All knowledge begins with a paradigm, and out of that paradigm comes an idea, an awareness that we adopt, reject, or synthesize into something better. It doesn't become wisdom, it doesn't become useful until we take action, until we integrate it into not only our thoughts, but our feelings, our body, our words, and our way of being. For that to occur, we have to move from the passive media paradigm into more active engagement. In the link below, in the More Information section, is an invitation to join a very small, deliberately filtered, high-quality discussion with a group of people who share a common language and want to work with these ideas, with me and with one another, with the sole goal of creating 10 times more sustainable well-being for ourselves and those around us per unit of energy invested. Thank you for watching.